Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 2, Watanagashi. Let's jump back into it. Shion desperately pointed to one of the many human-sized bird cages hanging from the ceiling, but I couldn't tell which one she meant. Being that dark, there wasn't any way you could tell if something was in there in the first place. I don't see anything. You sure you're not seeing things? Shion didn't seem convinced, but without a means to confirm for ourselves, we couldn't do much but wonder. Mayabara-kun, after seeing this, have you come to believe in all of it? The countless terrible rituals passed down in Hinamizawa? It's got nothing to do with believing in them. Now that I've been shown the real thing like this, there's no possible way to deny it. Even the nations of Europe, with all their beautiful landscapes and legends, were like a maelstrom during the terrible witch hunts in the Dark Ages. It's well known that the era gave birth to countless gruesome forms of torture and execution. Japan was the same way. Didn't it have its own era of hellscape like torturous feasts because of religious suppression and things of that nature? Hinamizawa itself had such a period. It hadn't had that much history behind it. Even in Europe, land of the witch hunts that was all far in the past, no more than a series of historical events, and in this age, nothing that abnormal would ever happen. That must apply to Hinamizawa as well. Just as Europe had its Dark Ages, Hinamizawa had one too. That's how this should be taken. Even if these things all really happen in Hinamizawa, they're all long past. They don't have anything to do with the people living in Hinamizawa right now. Mayabara-kun, you really do like this village. It didn't sound like she was making fun of me. Takano-san gave me a light smile. Takano-san, you're researching whether those customs survived into the present? You are, right? Shion suggested something that made my heart leap into my throat. Are you telling me that all these horrible things are still going on even today? What I'm about to tell you is a secret, alright? I told you, Shion-chan, because you're an understanding person, but the other villagers don't want to hear it. If things go awry, I could be ganged up on and punished. Shion flashed a devilish smile as if reveling in the immortality of it. Mayabara-kun, you keep it a secret too, okay? If this gets out, I could suffer Oyashiro-sama's curse, or be made into a sacrifice. If it's the curse, then I wonder what kind of death it'll be this year. If it's the sacrifice, then will I be thrown into the Onagafuchi swamp while still alive? It is tonight, you know. The night of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Takano-san said, bringing her face right up close to ours, as if to say that if she had the choice, she'd rather suffer the curse. That was what she seemed to be implying. Takano-san took a fairly worn notebook out of her paper bag, then began to flip through its pages. There were all sorts of references and newspaper clippings attached to them, and it had all manner of things written inside. The letters were very small and bunched together, so I couldn't tell at a glance what it was about. What I'd really like to do is search through the National Library for newspapers from the era, but here it is. A photocopy of a page from some book was slid into the notebook, and it, too, was written in small, tight lettering. Like the other pages, I couldn't tell what it was about just by glancing at it. This is a story that actually happened. It was around the end of the Meiji era. They discovered an unknown, mangled corpse, the victim of a murder in Onagafuchi village. An old newspaper clipping attached to the page spoke of something that was no mere rumor or fairy tale. We don't have most police documents from the time anymore, so it's all based on oral traditions and memories. See? It's not very clear, but it looks like a cutout of a newspaper from the Meiji era. Never before has there been a corpse treated in such cruelty and inhumanity. Could it be the work of a demon? Being a copy of a copy, it was very hard to make out, but it was more than enough to make me feel strangely tense. Near the end of the Meiji era, in old Onigafuchi village, a mangled corpse was discovered. The identity of the corpse was unknown. It wasn't even in a state where it could be identified in the first place. It was missing a head, and each limb was separated from the body. Skin had been peeled off the entire body, and there were markings that implied terrible torture in every place imaginable. Not only that, but the belly had been cut open by a sharp knife, with the entrails completely dragged out. The police immediately began an investigation, but since they couldn't even determine the identity of the victim, much less the criminal, finding answers was extremely difficult. Do you understand what it must have been like? I couldn't imagine such a strange sight, even if I tried. This was the first time I was ever thankful for my lack of imagination. The victim was skinned while still alive, underwent all kinds of torture, and was killed brutally. The author here also thinks that even after death, their remains were divided and dissected even further, the epitome of inhumanity. I'm of the opinion that the entire process was performed while the person was still alive, though. What do you think, Mayabara-kun? She spoke in a way intended to make me imagine even more vicious things. As my brain was already far over capacity, however, there was no way I could imagine anything more brutal. Then when I broke my gaze from Takano-san's, those strangely shaped weird tools were all around us. I wonder if you could faithfully reproduce the mutilated corpse discovered at the end of the Meiji era with the tools found in this place. I want to deny it. I don't want to admit that something so terrible could have happened at all. Even so, they were so strange, so terrifying, these tools. And as if they had seen through my attempt to escape from them, they did nothing but ridicule me silently. So, that creepy incident, what was it, in the end? The author says that regarding Onigafuchi village's dreadful customs, they survived into the recent post-Meiji days, and that perhaps they lasted until around the beginning of the Showa period. This corpse, which at a glance had been brutally killed after a period of torture. In actuality, however, it was the pitiful sacrificial remains of the man-eater's terrifying feast. The corpse was just leftovers. It was so fantastic, so strange, that it didn't feel real. Was this an extension of the legends too? It happened in the Meiji era, though, which is just too recent to be called a legend. Also, there's a newspaper clipping right here suggesting it. Okay, but even if it really happened, it was a long time ago, right? I mean, the Meiji era ended 100 years ago. That's all. Only 100 years ago. Besides, it kept happening even after the beginning of the Showa period. Like with the uproar around the post-war canned flesh incident. Oh, I apologize. That story was taboo, wasn't it? Takano-san immediately stopped talking as if worried about Shion. Shion briefly looked somewhat angry, but that expression soon disappeared. Huh? Takano-san, what did you just say? Canned flesh? Oh, Shion's about to be pissed. Just then, there was a huge creaking noise. Everyone whipped around to look. It was Tomitake-san who had opened the door slightly. Did I startle you? Oh, Jiru-san, could you not resist seeing inside? This is a splendid treasure trove of torture devices. I'll pass on that. I'm bad with this sort of thing by nature. Takano-san held her stomach and had to muffle her laughter as if she wanted to make a comment about his masculinity. In any case, the dance and ceremony are over, and everyone's going down to the stream. The festival will be over within minutes. Oh, that's no good. Mayabara-kun is just such a good listener that I couldn't help telling stories. I'd rather you not mention me in a place like this. Jiru-san, could you wait out front? I'm going to take a few pictures. There are actually a lot of tools I'd like to bring home, but we obviously can't do that. Takano-san took a camera out of her paper bag and began to snap photographs. She looked like she was having fun, like she was on a scavenger hunt. Keiichi-kun, are you leaving too? I've seen enough. Shion, you're good to go, right? You're good too, right? Let's get out of here. I want some fresh air. I agree. Let's leave. I did feel a bit of hesitation at leaving Takano-san by herself in this darkness. When I thought about it, though, I realized that whatever kinds of evil spirits and ghosts lurked in the darkness, none of them could hold a candle to how scary she was. Even if a phantasm... don't know what that is. Maybe a phantom? Even if a phantasm were to appear, she'd be overjoyed and flash her camera at it. Da 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 da. It seemed like Shion shared my somewhat rude mental images. We exchanged glances and smiled painfully. We left Takano-san there, bathed in her strobe of camera flashes, and decided to go leave the ritual storehouse. Everyone at the festival seemed to have gone to the stream, so their voices were very distant. The voices of the bugs, on the other hand, were clear, landing an empty feeling of isolation to the place. How was it? Interesting? Tomitake-san gave a somewhat mischievous grin. He should have been able to tell by looking at how pale our faces were. I should have kept watch outside with you, Tomitake-san. Tomitake-san laughed so delightfully that it wiped away our dark feelings. How'd you fare, Shion-chan? Were you scared? I was prepared for it, so I wasn't too afraid, but seeing the real thing was powerful. Shion spoke like she wasn't scared at all. She really had been quite afraid, but seeing as how much I was in a worse state than her, I didn't have much room to talk. As Tomitake-san grinned candidly, my mind exhausted and locked up by the nervousness began to calm itself. Was Takano-san an adult about this little expedition? You know how she seems like a child sometimes. I was worried she'd be way too excited. Both Shion and I laughed and left that as our answer. Hopefully she was only looking at things. I'm worried she'll sneak something out of there, or mess with a ritual implement too much and break it or something. Right, that's quite possible. She's alone in there right now. She might pilfer something small and easily concealed, hiding it in her pocket. Ha 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 ha, yeah. I can see that, Shion said what I was thinking. You're sure she didn't break anything? I could clearly hear some noise like someone jumping up and down. I was getting pretty nervous. I'm sorry, I ran out of film. Jiro-san, if you have any more, could I use some? Takano-san suddenly appeared while we were talking about her, taking everyone by surprise. Tomitake-san smoothly grinned and responded as if nothing had happened. He's pretty mature. I'm all out of spare film. Sorry about that. Jeez, you wouldn't win any Pulitzer Prizes by not stocking enough film for any occasion, you know. I suppose that's it then. Tomitake-san scratched his head apologetically. Without film, we're done here. Takano-san seemed to have given up because of that too. We checked carefully to make sure we hadn't left anything inside, then closed the door and turned to the heavy padlock we left beside it. Takano-san, you didn't sneak anything out, right? How rude. I'm trying not to be that childish. Clack. Tomitake set the padlock back to the way it was before. From a cursory glance, it didn't look like thieves had snuck in at all. Okay, let's get over to the stream ourselves. If we don't at least set some cotton afloat, there won't be any point in coming to the festival. Tomitake-san spoke brightly, urging us all on. Setting cotton afloat down the stream, I shook my head a few times, driving away my dismal thoughts as to the double meaning. Takano-san, looking a little let down, kept turning back to glance at the ritual storehouse. Let's just leave it at that, alright? You saw enough to satiate your curiosity, didn't you? Satiate. Oh, not at all. Everything I found only renewed my interests. All those stories and legends suddenly hold water. After today, I'm gonna have to change the way I look at all this. Wow, she's truly indomitable. Indomitable. Her curiosity really is something else. Still interested in all this, through and through. We descended the stone stairs, and all the people crowding the stream came into view. Near the bottom of the stairs, we could clearly see people receiving cotton that had been cut out for them, then wishing upon the cotton, setting it afloat down the stream. The festival was already over. Damn, I missed my chance to photograph the best part of Watanagashi. Oh, but it's not too late. I'm gonna go and set some afloat. Perhaps you could take pictures of me. Takano-san, with an impish expression, brought her head to Tomitake-san's shoulder. Despite his age, he looked embarrassed. I felt an honest respect for Tomitake-san, man to man, for dating such a handful of a woman. Goodbye then, Mayabara-kun. Shion-chan. We're going to go down to the stream. Would you like to come with us? No. I couldn't get in your way. Please, take your time. Shion waved her hand to them with an expression just as impish as Takano-san's. Tomitake-san, on his part, seemed to want us to come. Whatever. Shion gave a big stretch and sat down on the stone steps. Hehehe. I'm pretty worn out. Same here. I'm exhausted too. Kei-chan, this is your first Watanagashi, isn't it? You go on, don't mind me. I'm tired, so I'd like to stay away from the crowd. Yeah, if we were going to go now, would barely slip into the end of the cotton drifting ceremony. My sister and your other friends might be looking for you too. Go on. Oh yeah, right. They've been by themselves ever since we got separated. I'd feel bad if they were looking for me. Then Shion suddenly got a playful look on her face, then put her index finger to her lips, as if telling me to keep this a secret. My sister is the type that gets really jealous. If she knew I was hogging you this whole time, she'd never let me hear the end of it, so keep tonight a secret, okay? Keep tonight a secret. Don't say things that are so embarrassing. Not only because of that, either. Considering what we were doing tonight, we really need to keep it a secret. Oyashiro-sama's curse might happen tonight, and we four would be the prime candidates. The loosening threads of tension became taut again. Shion, however, burst out laughing. Alright, I'm gonna get out of here before I run into my sister. I really am tired, so I don't have the endurance to put up with her anyway. I can't tell if you get along with her or not. We get along. Though as she said that, her vague expression explained that there are a lot of oddities in a relationship between twins. I'm an only child, so I really don't get it. Make sure you get along with her, okay? Right. Thank you kindly for your meddling. Okay, I'm gonna go. You should hurry up if you want to make it, Kei-chan. Watanagashi is really about to end. Shion stood up and brushed the dust off her backside. After watching her do so, I returned my eyes to the final ceremony of the Watanagashi festival below me. Seriously, though, what was that sound, anyway? It was kind of unpleasant and creepy. Huh? What sound? The sound. You know, the banging noise. It was really loud, wasn't it? I was giving her a blank expression, so Shion stared hard at me. I stared hard at her, too. Sorry, Shion. Could you give me the short version? What was making noise? Wait, Kei-chan. It didn't bother you? When all is said and done, it was like we were speaking two different languages. Shion, explain it to me without jokes from the beginning, will you? What's this about a noise? Kei-chan, quit joking around too. Really, honestly, it didn't bother you? Neither of us was giving any ground, and both of us were staring at the other in disbelief. We were answering questions with more questions, with no sign of an actual conversation in sight. Baffled, I held in the urge to shout at her and ask politely one more time. I'm gonna ask one more time, okay? I'll ask the questions. Shion nodded silently. Okay, here goes. You said there was a sound. What are you talking about? The banging sound. It was like a kid jumping up and down on the floorboard somewhere far away. It really didn't bother you? There was nothing to be bothered by. When did you hear this? I never heard anything. Wait, Kei-chan, are you serious? Shion, as if she didn't understand my plain and simple answer, pressed me further, her expression serious. I have no clue what she's talking about, but if it has Shion acting so like this, whatever it was, it gave me the creeps and sent a chill down my spine. It was while we were looking inside the ritual storehouse with Takano-san, about the time she started her stories, I think it was. Little by little, louder and louder, off and on. She heard a banging sound like a child jumping on distant floorboards. That can't be true. Don't start trying to scare me after all that. I didn't hear anything at all. In fact, it was so utterly silent in there that my own heartbeat was almost deafening. Please don't try to scare me either, Kei-chan. It was like something was making noise in time with Takano-san's scary stories, and I was totally creeped out the whole time. The chill rose from my spine to the back of my head. My blood turned cold as it crawled up my body. When it reached my head, my mind froze over. You and Takano-san weren't paying any attention to it at all, so I pretended not to hear it either, but you heard it, right? It happened a bunch of times and it was really loud. Shion's eyes were begging me to tell her I heard it. I had no doubt, however, that my own eyes suggested something entirely different. You've gotta be kidding, look. In that storehouse, we were surrounded by brutal ritual tools that looked like they were from other planets, listening to terrifying old stories. The whole time, Shion had been hearing a sound that we couldn't hear by herself. Should that make Shion, who heard it, tremble? Or should it make me, who didn't hear it, tremble? I didn't know the answer to that at the time. For now, Shion seemed to have made that decision before I did. Ah, ha 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 ha! What are you laughing about? I really got you, Kei-chan. I was fibbing the whole time. No, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. What? Shion laughed, saying how easily scared I was, and clapped me on the back. Her smile seemed somehow artificial, and actually made me feel worse. Then, after leaving me with 2 or 3 generic diplomatic goodbye phrases, she left, almost like she was running away. All I could do was look after her, my mouth agape. At the end of the day, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Shion laughed it off and said she'd been lying, but she couldn't possibly have been lying. Of course not. And now that I think back, Tomitake-san said the same thing, didn't he? Yep. I could clearly hear some noises like someone jumping up and down. I was getting pretty nervous. Tomitake-san, the most neutral party present at the time, had said he'd heard something. Then, that noise, it was real? The banging sounds. Sounds as though a child was jumping up and down on some kind of floorboards far away. Oyashiro-sama's curse, which happens every year, might happen again tonight. The most plausible victim candidates were Takano-san, Tomitake-san, Shion, and me. The bustling of the people sounded further away than I would have liked, and the sounds of the insects surrounded too close for comfort. I'm near so much human warmth, and yet I can't ever go back there again. That was the ominous idea that sprouted in my mind. Then, all of a sudden, I was pounced on from behind, causing my heart to lurch. Keiichi, we found you! It was Rika-chan. When I turned around, Mion and Reina were there too. Mion sighed and said, "We finally found you. Now we just need to find Satoko. Everyone got split up this year. We should make sure we have somewhere to meet up afterwards next year." How? You're right. It's a festival, so we should all be together. I listened to Mion's happy declaration with a little bit of guilt. Keiichi, did you root for me while I was dancing? Ah, yeah. I saw it all. You did a great job all the way through. No mistakes either. Yeah, that's right, Rika-chan. That didn't count as a mistake. I tensed up as I realized I'd made a mistake on my own. Mion slapped a hand on my shoulder a little roughly. A gross sweat broke out over my whole body. Did you do it too, Kei-chan? Did you get some cotton and send it down the stream? You haven't yet, right? Is what I could feel her saying. Without the courage to tell him more lies, I lifelessly shook my head. Huh? You haven't, Keiichi-kun? You should go now or it'll be over. It'll be over. Sorry. This was my first Watanagashi, so I don't really understand the rules and stuff. That's right. I'm sorry. Mion took my hand and we started walking down the stone steps. Hey, Kei-chan. What? Did you see Shion? My heart skipped another beat. Maybe Mion could sense my surprise through my hand. No. Well, I sort of think I saw her. You two look so alike, though, so it might have been you. You wouldn't have gotten that wrong. We're wearing different clothes. Huh? Oh. That's right. Mia's momentary silence was like a death grip upon me. I just can't do anything about that Shion. Well, it's her we're talking about, so we can just leave her be. Mion's expression returned to her former usual smile, and we continued down the stone steps, her firmly pulling my hand along. You have received new tips from the Scrapbook 4, from the Scrapbook 5, and after the festival. And with that, that's where we're going to end this episode. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Ooh, achievement unlocked. Plumbing the Depths. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace!